Let me say
Yeah,
something
interesting.
about the paranormal before we get further into even weirder stuff, which I do want to do. So I mean,
Information substrate. Go on.
I've gone back and forth over the course of my life about ESP and precognition and so forth. So as a kid, I grew up in science fiction, and there were many science fiction worlds where it was taken for granted that psychokinesis and ESP and so forth existed, and it wasn't necessarily viewed in a religious way or something. It was just a future physics that was discovered in that science fictional universe. And as I learned more and more about physics and was exposed to more and more sort of bullshit charlatans in the sci field, I went through a period of deciding, well, that would be cool, but it seems actually not to be how our physical universe works, unfortunately. And then it was actually Damien Broderick's book, Outside the Gates of Science. And I knew Damien from our common interest in the singularity, and he had a book called The Spike, which was sort of like analogous to Ray Kurzweil's The Singularity is Near, but written in 97 instead of 2005. Didn't get as notorious, right? But I read Damien's book, Outside the Gates of Science, and I followed up the references at the end of the book. And after reading a whole bunch of research papers and even downloading some open data sets from various experiments on precognition and ESP, I convinced myself, like, this data, it's stronger than data for a lot of other things that are taken for granted in chemistry or physics or medicine or social science or whatever. Like, this data seems legit, right? And we shouldn't reject this data because we don't know how to explain it, or because it's conceptually associated with people spouting a bunch of BS. And so then I swung fairly far in the direction of feeling like there very likely are real phenomena behind ESP, psychokinesis, and precognition, retrocausation. We don't know how these things work in a science sense. We don't know what they depend on. We don't know what the parameters are. So it's all quite weird and confusing and annoying. But if you really just look at the data carefully, it's hard to just dismiss it as the mainstream of science currently does.